Hey, all my Cancer friends. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today to go over the year 2025, specifically for you, what the highlights are month by month, and what houses this will be affecting for you. This is based on Cancer rising and only Cancer rising. So if you don't know your rising sign, you'll want to go to one of the free birth calculators on the internet and just plug in your birth date, time, and location, and you can determine that information. This is also based on whole sign Western astrology. Okay, so let's jump in Cancer because 2025 starts off with a bang. We see the nodes shifting. The nodes of the moon are karmic points. The north node is a place that we're stretching for, an experience that we have not had. And the south node is a point that feels familiar. It's considered a habitual point. It indicates behaviors that the soul is familiar with. It's going to be moving into the Pisces Virgo axis. So the north node will move into Pisces. Pisces is your ninth house, and the south node will move into your third house of Virgo. The south node in Virgo will ask you to really examine your thinking process, how self-critical you may be, how much you're expecting perfection from you and potentially those around you. The ninth house will have you stretching to really find the divinity within. The ninth house is a house of faith, and it's a house of religion. It's also a house of business and commerce. So, and again, Pisces being your ninth house, I think this will be focused more on your religious beliefs, your spiritual beliefs, your expansion in yourself and in that area, because that Pisces area is going to be very concentrated over the first half of the year. We see Uranus is going to move into, or I should say, move direct in Taurus. Taurus is your 11th house of friendships, of social networks, of your hopes and your dreams. And we will see Venus, Saturn, Neptune, and the North Node all in Pisces by the end of January. Saturn has been there for a while, really offering an opportunity to put in this strong structure with your belief system, with your soul, with the deeper levels of your philosophies, your ideologies of life. Neptune is echoing that as it transits the last degrees of its rulership, and then it will move into your 10th house. And Venus is going to spend quite a bit of time as she is going to retrograde in Pisces. So we're going to see her inner exaltation for about 4 months. So this is a pivotal time. In February, Jupiter will move direct in Gemini. Gemini is your 12th house. That is the house of the subconscious, the house where we feel invisible sometimes. It is a house that rules the soul's history. And having it be Gemini and then seeing the South Node moving into Virgo in your third house, there'll be a lot coming up having to do with your thought process, how you speak not only to others, but to yourself, really strongly to yourself. Jupiter will offer an awareness. Jupiter's in detriment in Gemini, and yet wherever Jupiter goes, it offers expansion. And Jupiter is also a natural traveler. So the biggest challenge is the willingness to go into the details, into the fine tuning of my belief system and how I may inadvertently, through my verbiage, through the way that my repetitive conversation. Let's say inadvertently Cancer says, I believe in love, I believe in happy families. And then at the same time, you're countering that with being saturated with the opposing thought. That's where I'm going with that, because Jupiter is going to open that up in February and then ask you to fine tune your verbiage. Mars will move direct in your first house. Mars has been retrograde in your first house, and this is a place where Mars is not necessarily comfortable. Mars is feeling the burden of having to address other people's emotional bodies. And here, I think that this is also an opportunity for you to be brave in expressing your first house self. Again, thinking how you are, assessing how you think, how you speak, how you go about approaching a situation. A stellium is now brewing in February in Pisces. The sun will enter, the moon will enter, Mercury is entered Pisces, Saturn is still there, Neptune is still there, Venus is still there, and the North Node is there. So this is really, again, this concentration in a house that represents a polarity. In many ways, the Pisces energy wants to escape. It's why it rules the addiction. It also rules the most creative minds, the most creative people in the form of music and poetry, dance, photography, film. So having this be your ninth house, you could very well channel a lot of your spiritual beliefs through a creative endeavor that could make you money if you wanted it to, but being mindful of the duality of this house, because it can be as erosive as it can be inspiring. In March, we start our first eclipse season. We'll have a full moon in Virgo, and then we will have a new moon, partial solar eclipse in Aries. It will be the last eclipse for the Aries Libra season of the nodes. As the nodes move into Virgo and Pisces, they will take over. Virgo and Pisces will take over the eclipses for the next year. Neptune will enter Aries for the first time since about 1862. This is fairly significant because Neptune is moving into the sign of the warrior and the sign of the South. In 1862, the United States was in the Civil War. So this is going to be a powerful energy shift. And in no short order, Saturn will be joining, but we'll get there. In March, we will also see Venus and Mercury retrograde in Pisces. This is the planet of Venus being the planet of creativity, of partnerships, of money, of self-worth. Mercury being the planet of conversation, of thinking, of interacting with my neighborhood, my communities, my siblings, journalism. Big, big deal with journalism. We're going to see a lot in the media about the news and how that is dispensed, but that will be going on for you. So now we've seen these planets for, going on 3 months, hovering up there in your ninth house of beliefs. I'm sorry, I keep saying In April, Mercury will turn direct and Venus will go direct. This stellium will feel the power of its review as it moves forward, and it will move into the Aries energy later in the year. Again, Pisces is your ninth house. Mars will re-enter Leo. Leo is your second house of your skills, of your self-worth, of your ability to make your own money. So this is an opportunity. Mars will feel fiery. Mars will feel back to his old self again and be inspired. Now, at the same time, we get to be mindful that as we go into May and Mars enters Leo, it becomes there's an opposition to Pluto again, and Pluto is in Aquarius. In May, Saturn will enter Aries, joining Neptune, and they will start what I call a summit, as the Neptune and Saturn will both retrograde together back into Pisces as we move into the year and then move forward again. They travel within about a degree of each other for most of that period of time. So this is going to be a real conversation about history, about how we can go two ways. We can learn from history, or we can meaning we can build upon our history as a civilization, as a society, as an individual, and also building our spiritual practices, and if we are aligned to them. It can also be very erosive to those that are living in a victim energy. It can be very erosive. In May, we will also see Pluto retrograde from 3 degrees to 1 degree of Aquarius until October 2025. Again, this is going to have a significant conversation with Mars during this time. In June, we will see Saturn and Neptune conjunct. We'll really feel that in Aries. We'll really feel Saturn's wanting to sort of anchor in, build a strong foundation. And Neptune will have us revisiting lies and deceptions that we've been told, potentially by the government. Aries is your 10th house of career. So you could find that things that are any. I do believe that this is a year where a lot of inconsistencies will show up, and you may find that this is a time that you experience inconsistencies in your career or in your public status, how people view you. This may be as a result of your growing belief system or broadening, expanded belief system. We will see Saturn in Aries square Jupiter in Gemini for the third time. This is the third square these two planets are making. And I think that this is significant because as we move forward, while this is a tense dynamic, these two planets will start to trine one another. So here, I think that Saturn in Aries is really tasking Jupiter in a more definitive way to come down from the mountain and really look at how its religious practices, it's even if you Jupiter rules the judicial system, and within each of us, our ethics are our personal judicial system. So Saturn is squaring Jupiter, asking if our talk is matching our walk. That's essentially what's going on. And as they trine moving forward in the year, we can take advantage of the tense awareness that they bring forth now, because Jupiter in Gemini is illuminating my mind. And Jupiter's saying that I've missed some details. And Saturn's saying, go back, redo it. Jupiter will enter its exaltation in your first house at the end of June. The last time this happened was between 2013 and 2014. So while you may not revisit the same themes, you will be offered the same opportunity for expansion, to start to anchor in things that you want. Jupiter brings good luck, it brings wealth, it brings abundance. In July, Mercury will retrograde from 15 degrees of Leo to 4 degrees of Leo. This will happen from July 18th until August 11th. Saturn will retrograde in Aries and move back to Pisces. It's going to start at 1 degree of Aries and move to 25 degrees of Pisces. This is your 10th and your 9th house. So in the first quarter of the year, we're seeing such a strong concentration at the very top of your chart. So your belief systems, your opportunity to expand your presence on the internet, if you're doing any sort of internet content creation, I believe that Jupiter and the 9th house rules that, as it rules branding, marketing, publishing. So as technology rises, you'll be revisiting some of those ideas and reevaluating that if they're working for you or not. Neptune will retrograde from July 4th till December 10th, 2025, from 2 degrees of Aries to 29 degrees of Pisces. So there'll be a concentrated period of time where Neptune will review, the spiritual warrior, the peaceful warrior, and how to implement that energy, standing strong for what you believe in, and at the same time being fluid enough to allow others the same privilege. We see Uranus enter Gemini. It will just tip its toe in Gemini and then retrograde back into Taurus. But essentially, Gemini is going to change in energy from until 2032 to 2033. So we're seeing Neptune after, 15 years in Pisces or so, changing signs. We saw Pluto move into Aquarius, and now Uranus in Gemini. It's going to be a significant shift, especially in technology, for the world at large. And Gemini is your 12th house. So as Uranus enters your 12th house, you have an opportunity to truly liberate yourself and to, in some ways, integrate the genius within you through Uranus's transit in that house of the unconscious, the house where I don't even know I'm tripping myself up. And that that may be the way you think, because Gemini is so much about how you think. Okay, pardon me while I lick my finger. In August, Saturn becomes in a conjunction with Neptune all month long. And I think that this is very important because we have Saturn, which is considered limiting and repressive. Neptune is considered erosive. Saturn rules government and authority. Neptune rules deception and things that are not clear. In the sign of Aries, that's the sign of the self and being able to assert the self. So that's going to be a very powerful month. Again, this is in your 10th house of career and public status. Venus and Jupiter in your first house will be traveling together. This is super, super lovely. And your first house naturally squares your 10th house. So what you find out through the Saturn and Neptune energy as it retrogrades will probably determine some sort of movement forward for you that Venus and Jupiter in your first house are offering, and Jupiter being there for the next year. They will be exact at 13 degrees on the 11th. I think that's significant because the 13th degree is the Aryan degree, Mars, bravery, first house. Venus enters Leo and starts an opposition with Pluto at the end of August. And this is significant because this, to me, goes back to the potentials of what you learn from Saturn and Neptune about any deceptions in your 10th house. It could feel a little bit like it's turning things upside down. And at the same time, it's clearing out some toxicity that has potentially been holding you back. In September, we go into the second eclipse season of the year. We will see, excuse me, let me go back and tell you that Aquarius is your 8th house of transformation. I did not mention that. And Leo is your second house of money. Okay. I lost my place for a second. Okay, so we have the second eclipse season of the year. The full moon, total lunar eclipse will be in Pisces. This is like just another illumination of your 10th house, 9th and 10th houses. What's been going on? Where has there been deception? Where have I believed one thing and there's something else happening underneath the surface? This does not have to be the darkest of deceptions. It could be a bit of self-deception. Like sometimes we think that our employer will give us a raise if we just do a good job and never ask for the raise. So you may have to assert yourself in some way in order to create some sort of shift. We also see a new moon solar eclipse in Virgo. Virgo is your 3rd house. So this is going to be an opportunity to plant seeds that can be nurtured over the next 6 months to, in some ways, release yourself, unshackle yourself again from some thoughts. I can't help but going back to that 12th house of Gemini with Jupiter in there, really illuminating, expanding the thoughts, the speech, the people that you interact with that don't serve the long-term goal of what you want for your happiness. All of this is going on. And this new moon solar eclipse gives you an opportunity to plant the seeds for where you want to build. Virgo being building a community, building a team, even a team that works well together and is dependable and reliable. We will see Saturn re-enter. Saturn's retrograde now, and it's re-entering Pisces. Now, Saturn, I think, enjoys being in Aries because Saturn hosts Mars exaltation in Capricorn. So that when Saturn goes into Mars's house of Aries, there's a synergy, there's a simpatico, there's another rolling out of some kind of celebratory carpet. It may not be red, but it's something. So as Saturn goes back into Pisces, it's having to go back into those cold oceany waters and really revisit those deeper levels of where have I built my house and is it enduring? And this is, again, the house of the mind, the house of the heart, and your belief systems. That's where they live. Uranus will retrograde from 1 degree of Gemini to 27 degrees of Taurus. It will be the last stint in Taurus. And that will go on, I believe, until 2026. forgot to write the date down there. Then we have in October, Jupiter in Cancer, your first house will trine Saturn in Pisces in your ninth house. The first house, the fifth house, and the ninth house are called Dharma houses, and they offer rewards for past life good deeds. It sounds kind of silly to put it that way, but oftentimes the soul has a habit of being of service to others in some way or upliftment in some way. And when we have energies going on in those houses, it represents the potential reward for that. So I think that this is a fortuitous time. Saturn is retrograde in Pisces, so there's something to revisit, but yet it's still favorable and harmonious. We see Neptune retrograde back into Pisces, again, conjunct Saturn, and Neptune's going back home for the last time until, I don't know, another, hundreds of years, whenever. The last time was 1862 to like 1876 or something like that. So about that time, 150 years or so. Pluto will go direct at 1 degree of Aquarius. All of that is action-packed October. In November, Mercury will have its third retrograde of the year, starting in Sagittarius at 6 degrees and going back to 20 degrees of Scorpio. This will start 11/9 and go until the end of the month, 11/29. I suspect, I have not looked, but the last 3 years, Mercury has retrograded in Sagittarius, the last retrograde of the year. And I have suspected that that is about, again, revisiting the monkey mind, the human mind that has to deal with its everyday activities, and then utilizing these powerful points within the Sagittarian energy, the great attractor, the galactic center. And as Mercury retrogrades, I suspect in 2026, we'll see Mercury retrograding in Scorpio. So we're going to be going over these points where Mercury is giving us increased opportunities over the next few years to be aware of our power as co-creators with the universe and how the heart is filtered through the mind. Jupiter will retrograde in your first house from 25 degrees of Cancer until 15 degrees of Cancer. This will start on November 11th, 2025, and it will go until March 11th, 2026. Again, a fortuitous time. Even though Jupiter is retrograde, it is an exaltation. It's happy to be revisiting and staying a little longer in its favorite house. And so this is an opportunity for expansion. And Jupiter ruling your ninth house, where so much Piscean action has been happening, really gives you an opportunity to expand and to think in a more abundant and benevolent way. The universe has your back. Saturn will go direct on 11/28/25 at 25 degrees Pisces and won't be back for the next 30 years. Oh, did I say 30 years? I meant to say 24 years. I keep mixing that up with the Saturn return. My apologies. And finally, December 2025, Jupiter will trine Saturn for the second time. This time, Jupiter is retrograde in Cancer, and Saturn is moving forward in Pisces. So this is, again, an opportunity to take advantage of expansion, and even through your meditations, through your rituals and your spiritual practices, whatever they may be, you can connect to the universe and really start to feel your manifestations in the real 3D world. And then we will see Neptune go direct on December 10th at 29 degrees Pisces, and it will hover around there until the end of the year. So those are the highlights for my Cancer rising. Be on the lookout for your monthlies, where we go into even more detail about what's going on. And there'll be a January monthly coming out soon. Be sure to check out your Love and Money Tarot monthly readings and join me weekly live. That's where we do a tarot card reading and we get the angels' advice for how we can best traverse these transits and take advantage of their highest vibration. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer. Please like, please subscribe, please share, and hit that notification bell. We've got lots of content coming out this coming year. Happy New Year. I'll see you soon, Cancer. Bye-bye.